In 2018, on July 27th, after training camp had already begun, the Eagles signed a relatively anonymous wide receiver named DeAndre Carter. He had originally entered the league as an undrafted free agent out of Sacramento State 3 years earlier, after which time he had kicked around the league on practice squads for 3 seasons without ever playing in a regular season game. At camp, his precise route running was a revelation to the keenest observers, and despite his 5'8" frame, he looked like the real deal. The first official Bo Wulf Camp Crush has since gone on to play 94 career games with over 1,200 receiving yards and a series of life-changing contracts. At 31, he remains in the league, starring in this year's Hard Knocks with the Chicago Bears. In 2019, the Eagles entered training camp with a star-studded group of undrafted offensive linemen. Ryan Bates and Nate Herbig were the big-ticket additions, with Keegan Render and Casey Tucker among them. But the powerful hands of an afterthought from Weber State stood out instead. Sua Opeta took the Camp Crush crown and has created a memorable career of his own, playing in 38 games after spending most of his rookie season on the practice squad with 10 career starts. Signed to a nice free agent contract this offseason, he sadly tore his ACL in camp with the Bucs last week, but remains an overwhelming success story. In 2020, the world was in a dark place. It needed a hero. It needed someone with a history of service and a future of bold leadership and perhaps playmaking ability. It needed someone like Elijah Riley. Undrafted out of Army and signed to a guarantee of just $50,000, seventh in his class, far behind 2 other players in the secondary, Riley, to at least one observer, showcased quick twitch athleticism and an understanding of where plays were going before they went there. 4 years later, 4 seasons and 30 games later, we salute Riley's success story as he looks to win a roster spot in camp with the New York Giants. In 2021, another offensive lineman from a small school entered the fray. Coyote Awashika made the transition from college tackle to professional guard with aplomb, displaying his own level of Opetian hand strength and nimble athleticism that made clear to ball knowers his future in the league. Short-sightedly left poachable on the Eagles practice squad, Awashika was identified by the Detroit Lions as a foundational piece in their rebuild. There, he has played in 25 games, emerged as a playoff starter, and thrived just like the Camp Crushes before him. We all have our biases. But in 2022, it served as a wonderful reminder of how special things can be when we look beyond our prejudices. The heart wants what the heart wants, Zach.
Yes, it does.
And 2 summers ago, the heart wanted an overage white safety with a long injury history.
You got to type.
No matter that Reed Blankenship received the smallest guarantee of anyone in his undrafted rookie class, we needed a milk check. Not only did Blankenship ride his instincts and physicality to be the official Bo Wulf Camp Crush, he earned a roster spot, a fill-in starter job for a Super Bowl-bound team. Another overwhelming success story. In 2023, Zach, we presaged the presence of polyamory in the national zeitgeist. The Camp Crush landed 4 hearts. We extended the fling with Reed Blankenship to turn it into a full-on relationship. We were smitten with the forceful power of the young defensive tackle, 60% Moro Ojimo. The playmaking ability and power of Christian Ellis was inspiring, if not religious. And young Tanner McKee first found a home here a year before his push to displace Kenny Pickett as the Eagles' number 2 quarterback. Which brings us, Zach, to 2024. And the truth is, This has not been an easy road. This metaphorical rose is not given lightly and has led to sleepless nights. Over the past few weeks, wandering eyes have ogled everyone on this roster.
Everyone.
Ojimo, Blankenship, and McKee remain deep in our hearts. But if you love something, you got to let it go.
Yes, you do.
There have been fleeting moments of inspiration with PJ Mustafa's force,
Now you're just letting them feel like they were used and
Andre Sam's instincts,
what could have been.
Sean Stevens' ball skills, and Aneem Dankwa's kick slide.
Flirting with all of them.
Lakin Vakalahi may not be Jordan Mailata,
Not
but
even
it
eligible.
says here that he will stick around for some time to come. Flirting, maybe heavy petting, has happened with Dylan McMahon,
Okay.
but we fear a redundancy with DMAC, having already planted our ownership flag on him by inventing him as a prospect during the pre-draft process. There's no need to double down.
You can already claim credit for that.
Yes.
True.
And so, Zach, for some time now, it has been down to 3. Thomas Booker IV, a 5th-round pick of the Houston Texans in 2022. Booker joined the Eagles practice squad last fall. On the field this summer, he has had days in which he was the story. Somewhat undersized, he may carve out a role as a backfield penetrator, but how much do we weigh that he is a third-year veteran playing against what might be a depleted group of interior backups? How do we judge this Booker by his cover?
I see what you did there. And we've already talked about him quite a bit on this show.
E.J. Jenkins.
Is there enough room for 2 AJs?
Undrafted in 2023 as a wide receiver / tight end out of Georgia Tech by way of St. Francis, Jenkins spent time on the practice squad of the Jets, Eagles, and Raiders before returning to the Eagles this offseason. He has made more plays than any non-Dallas Goedert tight end on the roster this summer. But I worry that what I'm attracted to most is his physical connection with McKee.
Gotcha.
Is this jealousy more than love? And then there was Lou Nichols, 7th-round pick out of the Green Bay Packers 1 year ago, who suffered an injury in camp and went subsequently released. Nichols was a record-breaking running back at Central Michigan in South Philadelphia. He has opened my eyes with his between-the-tackles shiftiness, willingness to drop a shoulder when necessary, and his intermittent bursts of speed. But is this just a false positive because of his punnable name in my search for a Lou World Order? Zach, it is not. Ladies and gentlemen, the official 2024 Bo Wulf Camp Crush. Lou Nichols, will you accept this rose?
Well done. Beautiful writing. Beautifully performed. Julia is clapping. You do have an eye. Lou, I just want to warn you. This is what Bo looks like. Okay. Keep your distance. But, Lou, I just want to compliment you because, as Bo outlined, this does have quite the lineage here. The Camp Crush has, you can go on to contract extensions. You can go on to contracts elsewhere. You have staying power in the NFL. That's a good sign for the 2021 MAC Offensive Player of the Year.
It was really down to 2. E.J. Jenkins was very close.
Okay.
Plus, I was, the idea of after all of the EJ, then
yeah.
going with an EJ,
Yes.
that was, there was a good bit there.
And you can't resist a good bit.
But and I like E.J. Jenkins. I still do like E.J. Jenkins. I think he's got a real shot to make the roster. I think he probably deserves to be the 3rd tight end as long as he can be an adequate blocker. But Lou, I like a Lou. I think he's gonna pop in the preseason. It is hard to judge running backs. This is, as you can tell, the first running back to ever receive the BWCC.
As an anti-running back guy,
it is tough to judge them without pads, but I think you see with him the wiggle that you need between the tackles in comparison to the other running backs on the roster. And I actually don't dislike a Kendall Milton. I think I've seen a couple little flashes of Kendall Milton, but specifically compared to Tyrion
for you too,
Davis-Price, I think Lou, he's not going to be Saquon Barkley, but I think this is a guy who's going to stick in the league.
So Lou Nichols, okay. I always like looking up from the Dane Brugler draft guide because Dane always finds good nuggets here. I'll give Bo a chance to catch his breath. I knew Lou Nichols in the locker room last year when Eagles signed him to the practice squad. I shouldn't say I knew him. I would pass by him. I would see him.
You Lou him.
He was. But Lou Nichols, before this, okay, 3-star recruit. He's out of Detroit. He went to Cass Tech, which is a really good football program. Okay. He had MAC offers from Akron and Central Michigan. After transferring to Cass Tech, a few SEC programs, including Kentucky and Missouri, came after him. He announced the Final Four after his junior season of Cincinnati, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, and Purdue, but he committed to Central Michigan a few weeks later. He wanted to be a Chippewa. Okay, he started there in 2021, 2022. He was MAC Offensive Player of the Year in 2021 before missing 3 games in 2022 with a toe injury. He was identified as a priority free agent by Dane Brugler, and 5'10", 220. 9-inch hands, 37-inch vertical jump, 22 reps on the bench press.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I mean, I already know him well.
I know the audience doesn't know this information.
Yeah.
I'm trying to I'm giving some insight.
All right.
Let me ask you this. I know the Camp Crush is not necessarily indicates whether they'll make the team. It's just your identification of talent. Do you think he'll make the team?
I think he probably won't make the team, but I think there's a case to be made that he should be on this team because, for the reasons we talked about the other day, I think he offers a different skill set than what they have with Kenny Gainwell and Will Shipley. If you need somebody who you can rely on to run between the tackles, I think he can do that. I think he's got a little bit more juice than he's probably given credit for. I would be surprised if they carry 4 running backs, but I think this is a guy who sticks in the league.
Interesting. So he was waived injured in August 2023 and then placed on IR before the Eagles claimed him. Yep.
Correct. And then,
So he's not someone, there's some guys who've been around for a long time for teams to sign. That's not necessarily the case with him. 1 year in the league, was on a practice squad throughout the year.
Correct.
Yeah.
We all silly like the mayor.